So hi everyone, I think we can get started with the webinar. I'm Kristaps. I'll be leading the webinar and I'll be joined by my colleagues, Alexei and Yanis, who will be answering your questions. The questions that you have, this Zoom platform, they have a Q&A section here. So all the questions that you have, you can just put them in there and then they will be answered. And I'll also address some of them during the webinar. And there's also a chat section here, but we tend not to use it. So let's just stick to the Q&A part. Okay, maybe let me quickly go through the contents of the webinar. What am I going to cover? So on the agenda, the first off is that I'm going to cover KML data import into UgCS. I'm going to tell you how you can create routes from that. Next thing, I'm going to cover the Photogrammetry as well as the area scan tool, and also manipulating with your routes, with your waypoints, and so on. Then I'm going to show you how you can import custom elevation data into UgCS so it can be used further on with missions that have terrain following. And then after that, I can also show you how you can do battery change during missions, as well as how you can do image geotagging and use the UgCS telemetry player. And afterwards, at the very end, we're going to have a Q&A session during which you can ask any additional questions. But if you have any questions during the webinar itself, you can still put them in the Q&A. And if it's possible, I'll also try to address them during each specific section or at the end of it. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'll be the main moderator of the webinar, as well as Alexei and Yanis will be joining me. The duration is approximately an hour and a half if you include the Q&A section. And yeah, as mentioned, you can ask questions using the Q&A button that you can find on the Zoom platform. And if there are any questions that we don't get to, we're probably not going to be able to answer all of them. So you can just email us at support@ugcs.com later on, and we will try and cover the questions that we didn't do during the webinar. And this recording of the webinar is also going to be available on YouTube, so you can access it afterwards and see if you can, if you want to rewatch some parts. And okay, I think that's it. And without further ado, we can probably get into the webinar itself. Let me just quickly open up UgCS so we can get started. Oh, hey, okay, hope you can see the UgCS window nice and clear. All right, so on the agenda, the first thing is KML file import. So before you import your KML files as routes into UgCS, I think it's always useful to import them as placemarks first, so you can see how are they looking on the map. So to import KML file as a placemark, what you want to do is that on the right side of the screen, at the very top, there's the Map Options button. So if you click on that, you can see that it has an option, Import Placemarks from KML. And if you click on that, then you can choose your KML files. So in this case, let me choose a sample KML file so you can see. For instance, let's choose this file. Let's select that and click Select. Need to wait a bit while the file is loading into UgCS. Okay, and now once the file is already loaded, you're going to be taken to the location on the map. When you're taken to a new location on the globe, you sometimes need to wait a bit for the map to load, depending on your internet speed. Okay, now you can see the map is more or less has more or less loaded, and we can work with our KML file. So here you can see how it looks on the map, and now we can actually proceed with creating the route. So to do this, I suggested first you can create a new mission. And to do that, on the left side of the screen at the very top, you can click on Menu and you can click Create New Mission. So let's name this mission, for instance, KML. Okay, now once you have the mission done, you can start creating routes. So let's create our first route. To do that, you need to click here on the Add New Route card. Click on that. And now instead of creating a new route from scratch, let's import it from a file. Select this and let's choose our file. So click Browse and let's select the KML file. And now you can see that you are presented with a few options. You can choose to either import this file as an area scan file, a photogrammetry file, a route, or a perimeter route. So in the very beginning, maybe let's choose a perimeter route. So select this and click Next. Again, let's wait a bit until the route is imported. Okay, and now you can choose your drone. So if you're using, let's say, Phantom 3, you're going to be choosing that, obviously. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to be using an M-copter. So let me quickly find that. Here it is. Let's choose our M-copter. And now you can click Next. You can leave these parameters as they are for now. And click OK. All right, and now you can see that our first route has been created. So this is just a simple perimeter route. And as you can see, it's just UgCS automatically plots waypoints all along the border of your imported KML file. And similarly, you can also create area scans and photogrammetry routes. So let's do that. In one mission, like in this case, we created the KML mission, right? You can have more than one route. So you can have like 5, 10 routes and so on. So let's create another route. And to do that, again, click on Add New Route card, and let's import it from, let's import it from a file. So click Browse, and let's choose the file again. Click Select. And now let's import it as an area scan. Okay, and again, now let's choose our M-copter. That's over here. Click Next. Again, these parameters can be left as they are, and click OK. All right, and now you can see that our area scan has been imported as well, and the area scan covers the whole KML file. This is why it's useful to have the file, because if we hadn't imported that as a place mark, then you wouldn't be able to see this area right here. And some other actions you can do with routes. For instance, if you don't want to use your perimeter route right now, you can just hide it simply. So you can go to parameters here on the route card of the perimeter, and you can click on route. So now we only have our imported KML place mark, as well as the area scan route that was created based on the KML file. And in a similar way, you can also add photogrammetry routes. So let's do that now. Again, you click on Add New Route, import it from File. Now click Browse and choose the same file again. Click Select, and now let's select photogrammetry. Click Next. Let's wait a bit until it's imported. Now let's choose our drone. Again, we're going to be using M-copter. Let's choose that. Click Next, and OK. All right, so that's calculated as well. And now it looks a bit messy, but so we can hide the area scan route so we can view our photogrammetry route a bit better. Okay, and there you have it. UgCS automatically calculates it so that based on the height, it covers the whole area of the KML file. And in this instance, the KML file was imported as a polygon, but in some cases, you can also have it imported as, say, some lines. So let's say you have a polygon here and a few lines here, then the lines, even if you import the area scan or photogrammetry mission, then they're going to have just simple waypoints on the lines. I think this is it as far as KML file import goes. I mean, it's really simple. All you need to do is you need to create a new route, and then you need to select the KML file. So unless you have any questions regarding this, I think we can move on further. So the next part I'm going to cover is how you can divide linear route into parts using divide by distance. And to do that, maybe let's change the location a bit. Again, as I mentioned, you need to wait a bit sometimes for the map to load. And while we're doing that, we can actually create a new mission. So you can have multiple missions saved in UgCS. So now let's create another mission. Since we're going to cover linear route division, then maybe let's just create a new mission with that name. And now let's name it, say, linear route. Click enter, and there we have it. Okay, now we can see that our map has loaded and we can start creating a route. So to do that, again, as I showed you previously, what you need to do is you need to go and add new route, just like that. And in this case, let's create a new route from scratch. So click next. Again, I'm going to be choosing an M-copter in this case, but if you are using, then you're just going to choose that. Let me select that, click next. Leave these parameters as they are, and click OK. All right, maybe in the very beginning, let me just create a simple route that consists of multiple waypoints. So to do that, you can now you can already see that on the screen I have the waypoint tool selected here. So now you can place the waypoints by simply double-clicking or shift-clicking. And you can already see that the waypoint has a default height, AGL, altitude of 50 meters. And also, judging by that, you can kind of see what's the approximate distance between waypoints. And you can also do that using the measuring tool. I'm going to show you that in a second. Okay, so let's add a few waypoints like so. Okay, now once we have that, we can actually use the distance measurement tool to calculate the approximate distance. So to do that, on the left side of the screen, you can click here on the distance measurement tool. And then the same way how you added the waypoints, you can simply shift-click on the map and put these place marks. And now once you have this, you can see, again, on the left side of the screen, what's the total length. So total length is approximately 2 kilometers. Okay, so let's remove this. Okay, so now that you have a really simple route already created, you can do a few manipulations with it. So firstly, you can select all segments of the route and then you can move it. To do that, you can either go here in the parameters and then click on select all segments, or you can simply, if you're on the Windows computer, you can press Control-A, or if you're on the Mac, you can press Command-A, and all waypoints are going to be selected. And once all segments of a mission are selected, you can move it like so. Here in the very middle of the mission, you're going to have a circle and sort of these arrows. So once you move your mouse there, you can move the route around, as well as you can rotate it. And since you already have all these segments selected, you can change some common parameters for all of them. So in this case, you can see that all the parameters they have in common are here. So maybe let's change the turn type to say stop and turn. And we can also change the altitude to say 60 meters for all of them. And of course, you can also do this for each individual waypoint. Okay, so maybe now let me show you how you can do quick route division into various segments. So in this case, what a segment is a part of a route. So in this case, if we have 7 waypoints in this route, as you can see here, that means we have 7 segments. If you have waypoints and the circle and waypoints again, then the circle is going to be a separate segment. Okay, so in this case, if you want to divide the route into segments, what you need to do is, again, you need to go here on the route card, click on parameters, and here you can, if you click here, then you can split the route into multiple segments. So let's click here. And now you can choose, you can either do it in the sense that you specify by how many segments you want to split the route, or you can do it by distance. So firstly, maybe let's try to do it manually. So we have 7 waypoints, right? So maybe let's do it on our first route to have 3 waypoints and the next one to have the rest. Sorry, 1 second. I think I have a question. I'm going to try to quickly address that. So will you have the option to select points by clicking and dragging on the map? Yeah, we can actually do that. I can quickly show you. Or to select a portion of complex route with other packed waypoints. Okay, let's close this one real quick. Okay, so obviously, if you want to move each individual waypoint, what you need to do is, although it might not be that obvious to some, is that you can click on each waypoint, or you can select here using these arrows. And then you can actually move it around. If you move your mouse to the base of the waypoint, then you can easily move it around the map. You can change the altitude of it, and so on. And actually, also, if you want to select, say, a few waypoints, then what you can do is that, again, you can call the control or command button, and then you can say, like, these 3 waypoints of the whole route, and then you can move only these 3 waypoints around. And this goes for all segments. So let's say you have a mission that has waypoints, a photogrammetry segment as well. Then again, you can choose which segments you want to select by simply clicking on them like so while holding the control or command key. And then you can move them around. All right, so let's move on further to the route division. So again, click here and then click on split route. And now let's say we want to split the route by 3 first waypoints and then the rest. So what you want to do is that, say, input the number 3. So this is the first 3 segments. And click split. And now to see what happens, we can observe up here that we have 2 additional routes created. And to make it a bit easier for us, maybe let's hide the first route. So again, parameters, and click on hide route. And now we have these 2. So maybe let's hide one of them again. Okay, so you can see that our first route only has 3 waypoints, since we only selected 3 segments. And now let's hide this. And we can show the other part. And this one has the rest. And this procedure is the same if you have, say, a circle, waypoints, and so on. Okay, one question, can you set the last waypoint as a landing point so it has autonomous landing? The answer is yes, you can, but depends on the drone. Not all drones are capable of this. But if your drone is, and a lot of them are, then all you need to do is basically, let's say you have this route that consists of 5 waypoints, then simply you can click on landing button, click here, and then the drone will go to the landing waypoint and land there. If it's capable of autonomous landing, of course. All right. Another thing I can show you, let's delete these routes and let me create a new one. I can show you how you can invert the order of segments in a route. Okay, so let's create a new one. Let's create a new route from scratch. Now select your M-copter or the drone that you're going to be using. Click next. and click OK. All right, so maybe let's add just a few waypoints here on the map, like so. And let's add, say, a circle segment as well. Oops, sorry. Let's try that again. Okay, so if you, oh, sorry, having some problems here. You know, sometimes it does this exactly when you're doing a demonstration, something like that. Okay, let me quickly restart it, as at least it helped last time, and then let's go from there. Question, will you be demonstrating swarm capabilities and DDC? In this tutorial, no, this isn't for swarm or DDC. If you're interested in DDC, then you can separately email us, and then we can inform you more about the capabilities of that. Okay, let me share the screen again. I can see the map is loading, it's downloading from the internet, but actually I can mention one thing, that if you're going out somewhere in the field where you want to use UgCS, then you can actually download the map for offline use. Because obviously it takes a long time to load all of the data. So what you can do is that you can right click on the map, then you can click on the offline map. And this means that this segment that's selected here, or that's marked here with the blue circles, that's going to be downloaded locally on your computer, so you can use it later. Okay, let's move on with creating a route. Okay, so let's add a few waypoints like so. Now you can add a circle segment. And with circle segments, you can change the radius of the circle easily, simply by dragging this outer line. Or alternatively, you can simply enter the radius here. So now let's make the radius like 60 meters or so. Okay, and now let's add waypoints. So the drone is going to fly back. Let's wait for the route to process. Here at the top of each route card, you can see that either it has this green check mark, which means that the route has been calculated, or that it has a like a yellow circle, and that means that the route is being calculated. Or alternatively, it shows a red symbol, that means that you have some error in your route and you need to address that. Okay, so now you can see a route has been calculated, and you can see these green arrows. And these green arrows point the direction of the flight. So you can see this first waypoint, if you hover your mouse over it, it's going to show waypoint number 1, waypoint number 2, and so on. So what drone is going to do is going to take off from here, then it's going to fly like so, do the circle, and then return back. So one thing you can do with routes is that you can invert the order of the segments. So let's say if you want the drone to take off, say from this point, and then go on the route and fly back through here, then you can simply invert the segment order. And to do this, again, all you need to do is you need to select all of the segments in the route, firstly. And to do that, you can either click Control A or Command A. So let's select all the segments in the route. And now you can again go to the parameters. I can click on Invert Segments Order. So this is going to invert the order of all the segments in the route, so the drone is going to be taking off from the waypoint, which is now the last one, be landing at the waypoint, which is now the first one. So let's click on that, and now you can already see that the arrows have changed their directions. So now the drone, this is the first waypoint, and this is the last one. Obviously, this route is very, very simple. I hope this idea helps you to use it on more advanced route when needed. Okay, let me see if there are any other, if we're already here, anything else I can show you. Okay, I think actually you can try and move on to the next part, which is the photogrammetry routes. Okay, so for this purpose, let's create a new mission. Let's name it, say, photogrammetry. So again, go to the menu and click on Create New Mission. Now let's rename it as photogrammetry. All right, now once you have that, again, the actions are the same. So you click here to add new route. Now let's create a new route from scratch again. Click Next. And now let's choose our M-copter. So the M-copter is right here. Click Next. And OK. All right, so far in this tutorial, I showed you the waypoint tool, the circle tool, the landing tool. Now what we can do is that we can create a photogrammetry route ourselves. So to do that, click on the photogrammetry tool. Now is instead of placing each individual waypoint, you select a certain area. And to do that, again, the placement of the points on the map is exactly the same. So you need to hold the Shift button and click. Like so, and you can create, say, a square. And the last part is you can either shift click or double click on the last waypoint, or you can simply drag this and it will sort of click together. Okay, so this is just a simple photogrammetry route, and let's maybe change the ground resolution to say 2. We can probably increase the area a bit as well. So the main difference between this question got asked in our last webinar. So someone was interested, what's the difference between area scan and photogrammetry? So for area scan missions, area scan routes, there's the thing that there you need to enter the height manually, the height and side distance. But for photogrammetry routes, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is enter the camera parameters that you're using for your drone. And then each time the route is going to be calculated based on those camera parameters. Okay, so now you can see our photogrammetry route has been calculated. You can actually maybe try and decrease the ground resolution to 1. Yeah, okay, so now I have a bit of a bigger route, but it's lower than it was before. So if you hover over a certain waypoint, then it's going to show you the AGL altitude of that. And another useful thing is that you can actually change the sort of the angle of the photogrammetry. So let's say in this case, you can see that, let's say you want to rotate it a bit, right? So the lines, survey lines are like so, and you might want to rotate it a bit. So you can change the direction angle right here in these parameters. So this is a bit of trial and error. So let's say if you enter 30 here, let's see what happens. Okay, so now you can see it moved in the clockwise direction. Okay, so maybe let's put like, so, oh, okay, it has to be from 0. Okay, maybe let's leave it at the 30 value. All right. And now once you have this, another useful thing you can see is you can see the elevation profile. And to do that, you can go to here, parameters, and you can click on show elevation. So this window opens up and it shows you approximate data. So the total distance the drone can cover is about 900 meters. The duration is 1 minute and 34 seconds for this route. And this is so small because I just increased the default speed for the M-copter. For a real drone, obviously this total duration would be a bit bigger. We have 14 waypoints here, and you can see the minimum and maximum altitude. So here on this profile, you can see that the light blue represents the level, and the green line represents the flight of the drone. So you can see in this case, the drone is keeping constant altitude above ground level. That's because it's using the AGL altitude, which is set right here. Okay. And in some cases with photogrammetry routes, there's a thing that you might want to add some additional waypoints. And what you can do now in the new version of UgCS is that you can actually convert the whole photogrammetry route just to waypoints. And to do that, we already have the photogrammetry route selected. What you want to do is you want to go here to parameters, and you can click here, route to waypoint. And once you click that, you can see a new route has been created. So let's hide our original photogrammetry route. Do that again, click here on parameters and click hide route. And now we can work with the newly created route. So this is the same route that was created on the basis of the photogrammetry route, except the difference is that this one consists of individual waypoints. So it means that you can manipulate with each of these waypoints. So let's say you can add additional waypoints. So if you select this one here, you can actually add more waypoints here in the very middle. This is useful in cases when you want the drone to, say, fly back to you after certain segments, so you can change the battery and so on. And since we're on the subject of battery change, I can actually show you how you can use the battery change tool in UgCS. So let's hide this one and let's display our original photogrammetry route again. And let's add our drone. So to add the drone, you move to the right side of the screen and here's the card that says add vehicle. So let's choose the M-copter drone. You can expand this window to see a bit more. Okay, so now if we're looking at the route, even based on the arrows themselves, we can see that this is the first waypoint. The drone is going to take off from here and then fly like so. But in some cases, when you're flying bigger routes, you might not have sufficient battery to fly all of the route. So a tool that UgCS has is that you can actually stop the route at a certain point, make the drone fly back home, and then you can change the battery and then make the drone restart the route from a certain point. So let me maybe quickly demonstrate this. Oh, you can't see the right side of the screen. Okay, sorry, let me maybe drag it a bit. Is it better? I guess, I hope so. Can it's on the right, can you see the whole screen and the aircraft section as well? Okay, all right. Okay, so let's maybe continue with this. Okay, so regarding the battery change, so maybe firstly, let me just show you how you can quickly upload routes to M-copter. So you just click on upload. And the drone's gonna move here. Obviously, have a real drone connected, it's just gonna show up on the map on the specific location. But with emulator, we made it so that when we upload it, it just sort of jumps to the first waypoint. Now we can click on ARM and click on auto mode to make the drone fly. Okay, it's flying like so in this sort of trajectory because the trajectory is set to a spline. So that's why it's not exactly sticking to the survey lines themselves. We're going to change that afterwards as well. So, but the main idea here is that the drone is just flying the route according to these waypoints. So it's flying through each individual one. Okay, so now maybe let's make the drone return home. And while it's doing that, what we're going to do is that we're going to change the starting point. And to change the starting point, what you want to do is that you want to, let's maybe select this thing. Yeah. Then you can click on the parameters button right here on the route card. And here you just need to click on change start point. So once you click on this, your mouse cursor is going to change into sort of a target icon. And now you can select a specific waypoint. And this waypoint is going to be the first waypoint of the route after the drone has taken off. So let's say we flew the route and we had to change the battery and then the drone to restart the route from this point right here. So you need to sort of aim at this waypoint, click it, and now you can see a flag appear. So this flag means that the drone is going to start the route from this point. And while we're here, let's also change the turn type from long to stop and turn. So again, we have the photogrammetry tool selected and the turn type is right here. So let's click here and let's change it to stop and turn. Now wait a bit for the route to be recalculated. Okay, so Kaido is asking, how do I add afterwards more points to photogrammetry? I sort of covered this a bit, but the main thing is that if you want to add points in the middle of the photogrammetry mission, what you can do is that you can convert the photogrammetry mission into waypoints. Let me show this. And then you can select each individual waypoint in this route. And again, if you sort of missed it, to convert the photogrammetry route to waypoints, you need to do is click on parameters here and click route to waypoints. Then you can have this route here. And then now you can select each individual waypoint and then you can add the waypoint after that. Oh, let's hide this. So now you can select each waypoint and then you can add more. So again, if you have this one selected, you can shift click on the map and then you can add more waypoints to the photogrammetry. Okay, so let's hide this and let's display the photogrammetry route again. Okay, so to remind you what we did is that we changed the starting point of this. So maybe, yeah, we changed the turn type and maybe let's change the start again. No longer here because we changed the route. So let's click here, change start point and select this one. So again, you can see the flag appear and now once the drone is going to start the mission, it's going to start from this waypoint. And to do this, click on upload. Now you can already see it's flying and it's flying, it took off from there and then it's now flying to this waypoint right here. So it's skipping this whole part, which means that you're going to save battery. Okay, so I have a question about the camera angles on the photogrammetry route. Yes, you can change them, but that depends on your drone and if it's supporting that. So you need to refer to the manual to see if your drone supports changing the camera angles in the photogrammetry mission. So if it does, it's going to have an action here, change camera angle. Okay, let's set our M-Copter to manual mode. And let's make it return home. All right, so that covered the converting photogrammetry to waypoints. Now let's see, and also the flying around the battery exchange. So if you have any questions regarding the battery change, you can ask them. And I think I'm going to be moving on to, we're going to go back to photogrammetry and area scans again in a bit. Now I'm going to cover adding custom elevation data into UgCS. And after that, we're going to be using our custom elevation data to create area scan and photogrammetry missions. Okay, so regarding custom elevation, so by default, UgCS is using SRTM elevation data, and you can see here that wherever your mouse cursor is, then on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see the altitude. So UgCS has information of the altitude above sea level at each point on the map. But the thing is that the data isn't necessarily correct in all cases. And by this, I mean that, let's say, if a quarry has been dug, then obviously this data might not have been renewed yet. So in many cases, you might want to import your own turn elevation data. And to do this, let me show you how you can do that. So firstly, you need to go to the main menu here. Then go to configuration, elevation Z, Geo servers, and select local geographic server. Then you need to click edit and click manage elevation sources. So again, go to main menu, configuration, Geo servers, local geographic server, and click on manage elevation sources. So now I can click on this. And now if you want to add a new source, you need to enter a name for it. Click create. And now you need to click on the upload button, then choose the file. Okay, so here, and you need to choose TIF files. I'm not going to choose it in this case because I already have it uploaded, because it sometimes takes some time to upload the file. But the main thing is that you need to select this file, then click select, and then it's going to upload, and you're going to have to wait a bit. It's usually like 5-10 minutes or so, depending on the size of the file. And you need to wait until the state is shown as ready here. Okay, so let's remove this. So this is the file we're going to be using, the red rocks. And now the state is being shown as ready. So let's click close. And now once you have this uploaded here, you need to click save to save the changes to the local geographic server. And now to add that, you need to go to elevation Z order and simply click add. And then you're going to choose from the local geographic server your specific file. So in this case, I already have this file added, the red rocks file. And once you have this file, you can go back to the main screen of UgCS. Okay, now we're back to the main screen where we were before. Oh, and maybe quickly, let me address, okay, never mind. All right, now we're back to the main screen. And now if you want to move to the location of the file that you uploaded, the elevation file, then what you need to do is that here on the right side of the screen, you're going to have the map options button. So click on this and click on layers. Okay, so now you can see you can have multiple options. Here you have the base map tile provider, overlay provider, and so on. And also you have the terrain sources right here. So in this case, you can see it, you have the this source that was imported. So let's select this and you can click focus, and this will take you to the location of that elevation model. Okay, so this is selected already, and let's click focus. I suppose internet speed is a bit slower since I'm streaming, but usually it loads a bit faster. Right, now you can see that we've been taken to the location on the map. We're still waiting for it to load a bit. And you can see that this area is marked in green. And this is because UgCS is showing you which place on the map has the new elevation data. So you can see this place right here. Again, selected, then it's not going to be highlighted anymore. I believe this is in Colorado, the Red Rocks Amphitheater. Okay, here you can see you have these sort of two mountains right there. And let me just quickly show you how it looked before that. So if you want to hide this elevation data, what you want to do is, again, go to menu, main menu, configuration, and now again, go to elevation Z order, and then you can simply remove it here. So, but you're not gonna have to upload it again. You can just remove it and then you can add it back again, which is what we're gonna do now. So let's click on yes, so we can hide this. Now let's go back. Okay, now I can already see that this area on the map is flat, whereas before it wasn't flat and had these formations. Okay, so let's add them back again. Again, to do that, main menu, go to configuration, elevation, or now click on the add button, choose local geographic server where we uploaded our file, and choose the file itself. So click on add, and the file has been added here. So now you can click back and go back to the main map. Okay, so question, where are custom elevation data stored? When you upload it, yeah, it's just stored locally on your computer. And maybe I can also address where you get them. So you can get them from various providers, such as, I think Airbus, for instance, they have DEM maps. There's also a site, Arctic DEM, and they have maps for the, they have elevation data for the Arctic. So this might also be useful in some cases. Or you might even create your own. So you can say you can fly a photogrammetry route. You can then recreate a 3D model from that using software such as Pix4D, and then you can import that file into UgCS. You can have your own turn elevation data that you created. Oh, okay, Kaido, sorry, I didn't understand your question beforehand. So the question is how you can change the shape of the photogrammetry area by adding more points afterwards. Okay, so I thought that you just wanted to add more waypoints. I can now see that you want to change the whole shape. Okay, so let me just quickly show you. And this part I'm going to cover the photogrammetry and area scan missions, so we can actually move on further to that. If you have any more questions regarding the digital elevation model import, just put them there, and either my colleagues or I will answer them. Okay, so regarding the photogrammetry, so in this case, let's maybe hide this route that was there before, and let's add another photogrammetry route. You can click on add new route, then create a new route from scratch, and click next. So now let's choose our emulator. There it is. Click next, and okay. All right, so let's create the photogrammetry route again. So these parameters are the same way as they were before in our previous route. So let's just mark a certain area. In this case, yeah, you can see it's just calculated. And if you want to change the shape, then you can actually select certain points. So let's just say we want to select the last point, right? Then you click on remove to remove that. But the thing is that now currently there's no add button here. So probably the easiest way, if you want to, obviously you can have more points than just 4. So if you want to mark a certain area, what you can do is that you can simply paste the points like so along the edge. And these parameters, they're going to be saved. So even if you had a previous mission, then you're going to have the same parameters in the new photogrammetry route. So don't worry about that. And now let's just add the last one. Let's make them click together. Okay, now you can see that this marked area is now our photogrammetry mission. And I hope that kind of answers your question. Okay, another, what formats of files are acceptable for DM data import? Currently, the format of this file that I used is TIF, and these are the files that are supported. As far as I know, other files are not currently supported, but my colleagues might correct me on that. Okay, Kaido, I hope your question has been answered now regarding change the shape, because you can have any shape you want, really. You can just mark something on the map, any location with as many waypoints, or I'm sorry, as many of these kind of boundary points as you want, and then that area is going to be converted into a photogrammetry or an area scan. Okay, so the next part of this, the next part is I'm going to cover how you can do terrain following missions. So in this case, actually, we already have the terrain following on, and that basically means that you're using AJL altitude. Okay, so let's go to parameters again, and let's look at the elevation profile. So as we saw already before, now let me just quickly remind you that the gray area is the ground level, and the green line is the flight of the drone. So you can see that here it's keeping mainly a constant altitude above ground level. So you can see the minimum altitude is 16 meters and the maximum is 21 meters. But in some cases, you might want it to have a constant altitude above median sea level, meaning that this line would be straight. And how you can do that is that you can change it here from AGL, you can change it to AMSL, and then you might need to adjust the ground resolution a bit. And you can see that UgCS actually shows you that you need to change the ground resolution to say 4.3 or so. So let's change it to say 5 in this instance. Okay, sometimes with GSD, you need to use a bit of trial and error because you can't, or you might already know which one you need to use. Okay, so now you can see our new elevation profile. Instead of the green line being, instead of the green line following the terrain level, now just simply set at the constant altitude. The altitude above median sea level is 2,103 meters. So at first it's close up to the terrain. You can see the minimum altitude above ground level is 21 meters at the very beginning of the route. But at the end of the route, the AGL altitude is 98 meters above ground level. Oh yeah, so Emmanuel is asking, can you generate a double grid from the photogrammetry tool for 3D models? Yes, you can. So to make it a double grid route, you have this option here. So again, in your selected photogrammetry tool parameters, just at the very bottom, you have the double grid. And if you check that, then this whole route is going to be converted into a double grid route, as you see here. So you can actually, it's interesting to see how the elevation profile changed. So now you can see it's flying there and then it's flying back, or not back, but like 90 degrees opposed to the previous survey lines. All right, what else? Well, let me maybe show you how you can create an area scan mission as well, and then show you some of the differences between photogrammetry and area scan. So again, with photogrammetry, you have this camera selected right here. So each drone can have multiple cameras. And based on the camera settings, the photogrammetry route is calculated so that all of the images would overlay. Okay, and you can actually change the camera parameters in UgCS. And to do that, you need to go here to the menu. You can go to the main menu, click on, click on payloads. And here you can have all of the, default cameras. You can actually create your own new camera with its own settings. You can add a picture to it. Let's cancel this. And now, for instance, we select this Canon 5D, then you can see the way the focal length and based on the parameters, the photogrammetry route is calculated. So it's important that you enter, when you're doing photogrammetry, that you enter the correct parameters for your camera that you're using. And if you're using drones, such as say the Phantom 4, then these cameras are already as presets here. And they're going to be automatically, once the UgCS detects your drone, this camera is going to be automatically added to the drone. So let's go back. All right, and now let's create an area scan route. Okay, so this is our photogrammetry route that we have right here. And now if we want to create an area scan route, all you need to do is, again, click on Add New Route. So let's create a new route from scratch. Click Next. Now, again, we're going to be choosing our quadcopter emulator. Click Next, and OK. And OK, in this case, let's use the area scan tool instead of the photogrammetry tool. So let's select that. And we can mark an area like so. Again, you don't need to have 4 points. You can have more than 4. And let's drag the last point there so it clicks together. And it's, yeah, let's wait. And now you can see it's calculated. So we can see the flight speed here, the turn type, and so on. So let's first, maybe let's change the turn type to say stop and turn. Okay, and you can see the main difference between the photogrammetry and the area scan is that on your photogrammetry you have this, you have your camera selected here, and you enter the ground resolution, and based on this, everything is calculated. And also another thing is that in photogrammetry you have the set camera by time distance added by default. But in area scan missions you don't have this action added by default, and additionally you need to set the flight height manually. So say you can change the flight height to like 60 meters, and this is above ground level. And you can also change the sight distance. So in this case, it's 20, maybe increase it to say 30, and let's see what happens. All right, so now you can see the difference between distance between these segments has increased. And if you want to add some actions to the area scan, all you need to do is that you need to go here, and then you can add some of the actions. So in this case, let's add set camera by time, and say let's make a picture every 6 seconds or so. All right, and that's basically it. Another thing I can actually show you is I think this question was asked in the last tutorial. Let's hide the areas. Okay, actually, we can do it with the area scan route. Doesn't really matter. So in this case, you can see that the UgCS calculated the route so it starts from this waypoint right here. But keep in mind, though, we did not specify from where it should start. But you can actually do that in a way. If you add a waypoint before the area scan mission, then you can sort of tell UgCS from where do you want the route to start. So now it's starting from here, because it doesn't really know where our drone is and where is the first waypoint before the area scan. So if you add a waypoint before the area scan, then the area scan is going to be calculated so that it's going to start from the location that's nearest to the first waypoint. And to do this, what you need to do is that you need to add a segment before the existing one. And to do that, you need to go here in your action buttons, and then you need to click on this modifier, which says insert new route segment before the current one. So let's click on this, and let's click on waypoint. And now let's put our waypoint, say here. You can see it as you move it around, it sort of clicks to each of the points on the area scan. So let's place it somewhere here. And now let's let it calculate. All right, so now you can see it, what changed is that previously the drone started flying from here, and this was the first waypoint. But now, since we specified that, okay, no, this is the first waypoint, so the drone is going to be located here, then to recalculate the route so that the drone can already start flying the area scan from the point that's nearest to it. Otherwise, it would have to fly to the other side and then only start from there, which would waste the battery a bit. Okay, I think this is it as far as area scan and photogrammetry routes go. If you have any questions, then you can ask them now, and I can try and address them. Again, with the area scan, I can quickly show you the you can, for each route, you can see the elevation profile, which is quite useful. So based on your drone speed, this is going to give you the approximate duration, but keep in mind this is only an approximate value. Because the drone speed of the drone can be influenced by many factors such as wind, weather, and so on. So again, showing you the estimated distance as well as this altitude. And actually, what we can do is that we can, for the area scan, can also show you how you can set it to fly instead of following the terrain, how you can make it fly at an altitude above median sea level. So in this case, we can see at the first waypoint, it's at an altitude above median sea level of about 2,160 meters. So if you enter this, let's go to the area scan. Using these arrows, you can move between route segments. And you can actually change this altitude right here in flight height. So let's change it to, say, 2160, and let's change the altitude type to, oh, sorry, we need to enter that again. So altitude type is now AMSL, and let's change the altitude to 160 and see what happens. All right, so now I can see that similarly as was with our photogrammetry route, now the area scan route keeps a constant altitude above median sea level rather than above the ground level. And again, this can also be observed in the terrain elevation profile. I'm sorry, just the elevation profile, where you can see that the green line is constant. So it's flying at a constant altitude above median sea level, whereas the ground level is changing. Okay, let me quickly see questions. Okay, Michael's asking, for a lot of DJI cameras, minimum trigger interval in UgCS set by default 3 seconds. These cameras can work at a much higher speed, so the minimum trigger interval influences the maximal speed of the geometry. Yeah, you can experiment with this value. So in some cases, if you want to lower this value below 3, then you can actually do that in the profile. So all you need to do is you need to go to the main menu, go to payloads, and let's say you're using, say, DJI Phantom 4. So you need to find the camera for 4, which is here. You can click on edit. And you can see that the minimum triggering interval is 3 seconds. So you can actually input your own values here. You can set, say, 2 or say 1.9 seconds. Click save, and that's it. Then you can fly the mission with this new parameter. But you need to keep in mind which is the minimum value that the camera is actually capable of, and then sort of experiment how is it working out for you. Okay, I think we can actually move on further. If you don't have any questions about area scan and photogrammetry routes, I'm still I can still address them in the Q&A section. But now maybe let's move on further to the geotagging section, geotagging telemetry player and showing image center positions on the map. Okay, so each flight of each drone on UgCS, it's recorded. And so, okay. So, sorry, Jeremy asked, so can we lower the altitude to under 5 meters? I suppose you mean this 5 meters above ground level. The answer is yes, you can do this, but of course you need to be using accurate elevation data so that your drone doesn't crash into the terrain. And I think by default, each drone has its own minimum altitude above ground level. So let's choose quadcopter quad. Let's click edit. And here you can see it. This is the safe height over terrain. This parameter right here. So you can actually change it. You can change it, say, 2 meters, 3 meters. But keep in mind, again, that if you need to have accurate elevation data for this to work. Because also many drones, during the flight, it can fluctuate a bit. So the drone can actually think it's higher even though it's a bit lower. Just need to be using accurate Okay, so yeah, let's move on further to the telemetry player, and then questions that you have, I can answer them in the Q&A section. So as I was telling before, the flight of each drone is recorded in the UgCS telemetry. So far we have been only using the mission editor, but UgCS also has a telemetry player. And to go there, you click here on menu, and then here, this is the button that is going to take you to the telemetry player. So let's click on that. Now you can see that the screen changed a bit. So we don't have any more actions to add route elements, but we have measurement tools. And so each flight you do, that data is going to be recorded on UgCS and it's going to be saved on your server. So, and by server, I mean, if you're just using it on your laptop, it's going to be saved locally. You can so it's saved to a remote server if you're using a configuration with multiple computers. Okay, maybe let me show you how you can import telemetry data in here, and that's going to give us a bit of a better view of how the player in UgCS works. So to import telemetry data from previous flights, what you want to do is that you want to go to main menu. Just go to the menu, and you need to click on import telemetry. So let me quickly find the, I think it was here. Yeah, there it is. Let's click select. Let's wait a bit for it to import the telemetry. I think this is from a flight we did back in 2015 or so. All right, now you can see that a drone has appeared here. So this flight was done with DJI Phantom 3. And currently doesn't have any values there. And this is because you can see it on, this is the timeline, and you have a slider here. And here you can actually move it, and you can see it in the very middle, you have these sort of small pinkish purplish squares. So you can actually move the slider to them. And once the slider is there, you can see that your drone has some data already going to it. So this was data that was recorded by UgCS when the drone was connected and when it was flying. And here you have these plus buttons, and using these, you can actually zoom in on the timeline. Okay, but now you don't see your drone on the map, so what to do? So if you want to move to the location of the drone on the map where it's located, then all you need to do is that you need to move your mouse to the drone card and then simply double click on it. And now this already takes you to where the drone was. Let's wait a bit for the map to load again. Okay, now you can already see that while the map is still loading, you can see these purple and pink lines. And these lines represent the flight of the drone. And this is slightly different from the lines that you saw in Mission Editor, because in Mission Editor, that data you see is the desired path of the drone, the calculated one. But this is the actual flight path that the drone took. So this is these are all the GPS coordinates of the drone during the flight. So say if you would be flying with, instead of stop and turn, you're flying with a spline turn type, then you would see round corners here. So this was just a simple mission where the drone flew and it took some pictures. And then we're going to be using these pictures, and I'm going to show you how the geotagging tool in UgCS works. But before that, maybe let me quickly cover the timeline a bit and how that works. So I already showed you the slider. You can see here where you have these numbers. This is just the time at that specific day. You can already actually see that as I'm moving my mouse, that the time changes. And if you click here on this arrow, you're going to be taken to the calendar. So if you're, this was just the one flight that we did, but let's say if you're doing flights every day, every second day, every week, then all of these flights are going to be saved and you can access them later on. And you can access not only the flight data, you can access also the video data of the drone. So let's say the drone is streaming video to UgCS, then you're going to see the video at the point where the drone was. And if you want to see the video, then you need to click here and then click here on show video. And this small window appeared, but obviously now there's nothing because at that point the drone didn't really stream video. So let's hide that. And yeah, you can click play. So this makes the time move forwards. You can see here that the seconds are ticking. And you can change the speed of this actually. So 2 times, 4 times, 8 times. Maybe let's change to where the drone's flying so you can move the slider between the drone position is changing. So this is already where it was in the air. Or if we move it to the next location on the timeline. Okay, now here you can see the next flight that it did. Like so. And you can pause this, you can move the slider around, you can move the drone in different locations. Okay, let me show you the geotagging tool and how that works. So let's say the drone took a few images, right? And each image has a timestamp. So, I mean, some drones, they already geotag the images automatically, especially newer DJIs, but some drones don't really do that. And so this is why we have the geotagging tool, which allows you to sync the telemetry data along with the data of the images. And to access that, you need to go to the card of the drone itself, click here, and then click on geotagging. So click on that, and you can see that this window opened up. So now you can choose images that you have once you already have them stored on your computer. So let's click on Browse. Let's select our folder, and these are the images that the drone took at that flight. So let's click here on all to select all of them. Click select. And you can see that all the images are selected, and now we can click on process. So all the images have been processed, and you can see this is the time offset, but this is set to 20 seconds. So let me quickly show you why. Let's click cancel on that. Okay, so let's click on process. You can see that, for example, one image was not processed. And if you get something like this, then you might want to change the camera time offset, because sometimes the time of the camera might be a bit different from the actual one. And you can sort of use trial and error to find a place when all of the images are processed. So, nope. Okay, so let's maybe set this to say 10 seconds. Process, and you can see still we have an image that has not been processed. And now let's enter a higher value, say 100 seconds. Click on process, and again, we have an image that wasn't really processed. But if you I found this, which is 20, and now you can see that all the images were processed. And you can actually also choose an altitude to write to the files. But in this case, let's not use that. And then when you want to write the geotags to the images, then all you need to do is click here to write tags to image files once you have all of them already processed. And once you have all the images with geotags, you can click show on map. And UgCS is going to show you all the image locations on the map. But this is something you can do actually not only in the telemetry player, you can actually also do this in the mission editor. So if you have some images that have these image centers, then you can simply show them on the map. And let me maybe quickly, okay, let's click cancel on this. Let's move back to the mission editor real quick. Okay, so I think the screen disappeared for a bit, but I think it should be back now. Okay, so now we're taking to the mission editor screen. And now if you want to see the image locations on the map, what you want to do is that, again, you can go here on map options, and you can click here on the button that says show image centers. So if you click on that, again, you can select all of the images and click select. And now you're taken to the place on the map where all the images were. And okay, I think this is basically it as far as telemetry player, geotagging, and image center positions go. So if you have any questions, you can ask them now. And I think we can actually move on further to the Q&A section. So now just, I think I covered all the things that I wanted to cover here. And if you have some questions, some specific things that you want to find out, you can just put your questions in the Q&A and I'll try to address them. And I'll try and show some of them, how you can do certain things. Okay, so you can click close this. Okay, so question is, what is the accuracy of UgCS geotag image locations? I'd say that really depends on your specific drone, the GPS that drone's using. Obviously, this isn't the most accurate method. Probably the most accurate is that if your drone is writing this directly to the images, if your drone is geotagging the images itself, because you can have a small difference in the time, the telemetry time, as well as the time on the camera. So this is why I was showing you the offset and how to work with that. But this is, this is in cases when you don't have, your camera doesn't have image geotagging and you want to add geolocations there. And I think another question I saw it some time ago was, can you, okay, let me see. Okay, so Bang is asking, it seems I have a limit of 500 meters despite the license. Can I set that somewhere? Yes, you can. Let me quickly, it's very good that you ask. I think some people might have some confusion with that. Let's just move to a different location, more beautiful. And yeah, so even if when you buy the license, the limit, it sort of stays there, but you can change it. So just let me show you how you can change the limit for each drone. This limit is just a safety precaution, but once you have a paid UgCS license, you can obviously change that. So to change the limit of the radius, how far you can fly, is that you want to go here to your vehicles and then find your specific drone. Sorry, you need to go to profiles here, yeah, and then find your drone that you're using. So let's just choose, you're using DJI Inspire 1, right? Okay, and then when you want to change the how far it can fly, basically, you need to click on Edit here. And then here you can see it in the routing section, you have fence radius. So this is the value you want to change. So by default, this is constrained, but if you have a paid UgCS license, then you can change this value. So you can enter, say, let's enter like 2 kilometers here. So 2,000 meters and click save. And that's it. You're not going to have a problem of not being allowed to fly further than 500 meters. That's all you need to do, really. This is just a safety precaution so that you can't accidentally calculate a route that's further than that and then thinking that where is my drone going? And similarly, if you go here to route parameters, you actually also have the maximum altitude above ground. So in this case, I've already set it higher, but in some cases, I think by default it's 120 meters, if I'm not mistaken. And if you have the permit legally to fly higher than that, then you can change it here as well. Okay, so elaborate on the difference between profile versus vehicle. Okay, let me quickly show that. So if you go here to the main menu, basically vehicles are the drones that you have currently connected. So you have a drone is connected or has been connected to this computer. So in this case, DJI Inspire was connected. Then you can change the name of it, and this actually shows you the exact name because each drone's gonna have a unique name in UgCS. So you can actually change this name to, say, my favorite drone. You can have a tail number. If you're using ADSB, then ICAO address, and you can actually change the vehicle profile if necessary. So again, vehicles are all the drones that have been connected to UgCS, and each vehicle is using a specific profile. So in this case, the Inspire 1, which we renamed my favorite drone, is using DJI Inspire 1 profile. So you can have, say, multiple DJI Inspires, and all of them are going to be using the profile, but you can have separate names for them and separate different parameters. But here under profiles, so these are the profiles for all the drones that UgCS is supporting. So if you go here to, say, the Inspire profile, you can see all the parameters in depth. And if you change them here, then they're going to be changed for all Inspire 1 vehicles that are going to be here. So again, just to sort of recap, profiles are the sort of the default things that each vehicle is going to be assigned, right? So you can have, say, a Phantom 3 profile that has these and these parameters. Say it can fly 500 meters from the starting location and so on. And then once you connect your vehicle, that's going to appear here. That's going to appear here. And then it's going to be using those parameters from that profile. I hope that kind of covered your question. Okay, let me see what else we can cover. I think one thing I didn't really cover was CSV file import. And CSV files, obviously they're comma separated value files. So let me maybe, I don't think I have a test file here, but basically imagine you have a CSV file where you have certain coordinates and you have altitudes there. So the one column has the latitude, one has the longitude, and then the third one has the altitude of each point. And if you want to import it, then the process is the same as for KML files. So to import your CSV file, what you want to do is you want to click on Add New Route, then import new route from file. And then here you can just click Browse and you can choose your CSV file that you want to use. And then all of those coordinates are going to be imported into UgCS as waypoints. So this is useful in case you have some certain corridor or let's say power lines that you want to map, and you have these locations of the towers. You can use all these geographic locations and the altitude. And then based on this, you can actually automatically create the routes. Okay. Let me see what other questions are there. So question about Articopter. Well, UgCS has about 2-second latency on dialing compared to Mission Planner. I don't think we've actually measured the latency. It might be, yes, so that the Mission Planner is the native software, so maybe the latency there is a bit smaller. But actually, this might depend on the dial link itself. I can't really answer that question now, but maybe Kylie, you can actually drop an email to our support team, and then we can actually take a look at that. Because maybe there are ways how you can decrease the latency and how we can help you out with that. So if you have any further questions that I'm not going to address in this Q&A and I haven't addressed in this webinar, you can simply email us at support@ugcs.com. So we still have a bit of time. So if you have any more questions, you can again put them in the Q&A section if they haven't been answered yet. So let me see what else can I cover quickly. Oh yeah, I can maybe, some drones, they also support joystick control. So you can actually do that from here. I suppose some people might not know that. That's possible. So let me quickly show you how you can do the joystick control. So let's move the location of the M-copter. Because now UgCS has multiple control modes. So by default, we have the manual mode, auto mode, and then actually we have the click and go mode. And we have the joystick mode. And let me show you them. So maybe let's create a new route. Let's leave these here. Let's create a new mission for our M-copter. So let's click on create new mission. Let's add our M-copter here. Let's quickly add a new route. Okay, now let's say just add one single waypoint. And we can upload it to the drone. Okay, so you can see the M-copter is in there, it's already moving there. So just to quickly show you the two additional these flight modes. You can have the click and go here, which means that you can set the point on the map somewhere, change the heading, and then the drone's will be flying there. And even while it's doing that, you can place more waypoints. You can change the heading if necessary, and then the drone's going to be flying there. And similarly, you can also use the joystick mode. So now you can see in the telemetry window, the drone's in click and go mode. So you can change that to joystick. So now it's being showed as in joystick mode. And then here, you have the keyboard controls of it. If you select this, oh, sorry. That well. Okay, let me try and find it. Okay, so keyboard vehicle. And I think now I should be able to control it. Okay, now it's back in manual mode. So let's put it in joystick mode. Yeah, and now you can see I'm actually now just controlling the drone with my keyboard. And if you have a joystick connected, you can actually also use that. So if at some point mission planning gets a bit boring, you can also just play around with M-copter. Or of course, you can use this on real vehicles as well who are supporting joystick mode. Okay, so question, how to configure the stream to, oh sorry, Spirit. Yeah, how to configure the stream of FPV video to UgCS desktop. What we did is that you can have these sort of adapters, right? That your video receiver can plug into the computer through the USB port, and then you're going to be able to, once that's detected, you're going to be able to see the video here. We have more information regarding getting FPV video stream in our manual. so you can see information there. And if it's not there, you can just email us at support. Okay, let's see what other questions I can answer. Okay, Marcin asked, so using DJI Phantom 4 Pro in waypoint mission, there is a limit of less than 30 meters away from home point for the first waypoint. And the distance between consecutive points, as well as the first and the last one, is limited to less than 2,000. Yeah, DJI they have their own limitations that are there. And so this isn't really a UgCS internal limitation, it's more of a DJI limitation that they have. So, you know, we've had cases of this maybe different, but let's say when the customer needs to fly a DJI drone inside an airport when he has the permit, he needs to contact DJI to get the permit to fly there. And in this case, maybe it's something similar. I think DJI had something that you had to register to be able to fly a bit further, sort of to unlock it. But 30 meters from home point, that might be the default thing that it's just a safety precaution. The first waypoint has to be near the home point. Okay, so similar to FPV stream, will DJI downlink be able to stream to UgCS desktop? Yeah, that's possible. You can get your video from your DJI drone onto UgCS. Although I don't have DJI drone with me, so I can't really show it to you now. But again, you can refer to the manual, and that's going to have more information how you can exactly get the video from your DJI drone into UgCS. So again, guys, if you have any more questions, then put them there. I'm going to try and answer the ones which I can, and as I count, my colleagues are going to try and address. Okay, so any limitation regarding number of waypoints, single route. In UgCS, you don't have really a limitation of how many waypoints can you have in a single route, but it more depends on the limitations of the drone itself. So, you know, some drones have a certain limitation and some don't. And that's why you need to see how many waypoints can your drone handle. And yeah, I know that DJI, they can have their limitations. This is why we redesigned the Photogrammetry tool and so on, so that it uses a minimal amount of waypoints. Okay, actually, maybe let me show you how you can open the, yes, manual continue. And then you can, let's open one of the missions. So let me open the Photogrammetry mission that we had. So does UgCS use avoidance systems for drones? Currently, some drones have inbuilt avoidance systems in that sense that when they sense an obstacle, they're going to stop. But what you can actually do with UgCS is that you can import 3D models in here. So there's a website called I think Google Warehouse or so, and you can get basically building models from there. And let's say if you need to do some building scans or whatnot, you can actually also make them yourself. And then you can plan your routes around them. So you're going to be able to see the buildings on the map. Okay, so smart return home instead of directly returning for battery swap plots can actually be set to follow route home, an existing route, or a dedicated lost link contingency route. Currently, I don't think that's really implemented here. We don't have a specific route that you can set your drone to fly to when you need to return home. So now probably the best solution is just to use the return home button, but that's actually a pretty good idea. So we'll see. Maybe in the future this might be implemented. Okay, so I started talking about the number of waypoints, and here, if you see the, okay, let's maybe, yeah, this is the photogrammetry route, and let's remove the double grid. Let's wait for it to be recalculated. Okay, now you can see that we have waypoints at the end of each segment. So this is the minimum amount. Previously, what we had was that if you click here on the additional waypoints, then you're gonna have more waypoints. So this is how in earlier versions it looked. And obviously this can cause some issues. But now, since it's optimized, I think for most missions, you're probably not gonna go over 99 waypoints unless the mission is really long. But in that case, you might also need to do the battery change. Okay, so what else can I cover? Let me quickly see. I think I didn't really show you about these parameters. So if you go here to parameters, then of each route, then you can set them. So by default, home location is set to the first waypoint on the ground level. You can also set explicitly. So if you click here and then click there, then you can add a new home location. So let's set the altitude of this home location, say 20 meters above ground level. Click OK, and now you have this. And also, yeah, you can add failsafe actions, although you need to refer which ones can, depending on the drone, not all drones can accept them from UgCS. Sometimes you need to set them in the native software, but sometimes you can also just change them quickly here. So let's say if you're losing your data link, you can make the drone go home, land, continue, or wait. Okay, Michael, so can you stream from UgCS for DJI to UgCS desktop application? This is, yeah, it might require some configuration. And if you want this, I think if you can't really find the information in the manual, then as I said, I can't really address that now since I need to assist you a bit more in depth, but you can email us at support@UgCS and we're going to help you. Okay, I don't see that many new questions, so I think this might actually be sort of it for this webinar. And as I mentioned before, this recording is going to be available on our YouTube channel, so you're going to be able to review this later on. And if you have some questions, comments, you can also So maybe Jans or Alexa, you have some things you want to add, some remarks?
From my perspective, I'm like a sales director of UgCS, so main remark is that we will be launching shortly monthly licenses for Pro. So if you have some job which requires all import of them functionality or all these advanced features which were explained by Kristaps today, you will have a means to get like this license for months just to do your job, and that's it. If it's not something regular for you, so that's the main news. Otherwise, yeah, just well, we are happy that there were so many participants today for this, and please drop some feedback on this, and maybe some more particular practical topics which we could cover as a separate separate webinars in future for some kind of specific inspection or something like that, or maybe you want to partner with us to make such a webinar where we could together make for others to teach how it's best practice in some field. So yeah, thank you very much, and let's see you in some other time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so as Jans already mentioned, so thank you guys for joining the webinar. Thank you for, this is sort of an experimental thing for us because this is only the second webinar we've done so far. And so far the feedback has been quite good. So I think we're gonna probably do some more webinars like this in the future where we can directly address some questions from our customers. And so, yeah, thank you all again for joining. Thank you for watching. And I hope I managed to answer some of your questions, and maybe something is now a bit more clear. And hopefully, as you know, the name states, you're going to be able to get more out of UgCS now after watching this. So, okay, thank you everyone for joining again. And I guess that's it. So see you around.
Maybe one more thing from my side.
Yeah.
If you have any specific requests for webinars, I mean, if you want to know more about a certain application, implementing a certain application with UgCS, will be more than happy to hear from you. So if you have any idea on the future webinars, just drop us an email. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Alexei. So yeah, if you have any, as he already stated, if you have any more ideas, any things that maybe you would like us to cover in the webinar, then we can add them to future plans and future webinars that we're going to do. And so the main goal of this is to help our customers sort of be more well acquainted with UgCS and how to use it and know how to use all the functionality that we have. And I think so far, at least, as I said, the reviews have been quite good of this. And so this is probably a thing is also going to happen in the future. And yeah, if you have any requests or anything, then just drop us an email, drop us a message on Facebook, and then we'll get back to you, and then we can maybe include this in future webinars, your ideas. So okay, I think that is it for this day's webinar. Again, thank you everybody for joining, and see you next time, hopefully, and hope you have fun using UgCS.